We have some breaking news in the UFC. Dana White just announced for UFC 317 headlining International Fight Week, Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria for the vacant lightweight title. This is a huge fight for the division. Finally, Ilia Topuria is back, headlining International Fight Week. Unfortunately, though, it's not against Islam Makhachev. We are also getting UFC 319, Khamzat Chamay. He's back. However, in the United States, in Chicago, against Dricus du Plessis. So finally, we're getting this matchup. Khamzat Chamay is finally getting that title shot. So this is going to be a great fight. And finally, Islam Makhachev vacating his lightweight belt to move up to the welterweight division to challenge newly crowned welterweight champion Della Maddalena, most likely for UFC 320, but who knows? That will probably be in Perth, Australia. But we're going to go through each breaking news, giving our thoughts and opinions on what's going on, who I think might win, all that good stuff. So be sure to like, comment what you think, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. UFC 317, finally, we have some news for International Fight Week. The card actually just got announced. Charles Oliveira is back fighting Ilia Topuria. This is an interesting matchup because, honestly, I could see Ilia Topuria beating Charles Oliveira, but Charles Oliveira, man, is not, easy to beat. He fights good competitors. He finishes good opponents like Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. But Ilia Topuria is not some easy fighter to win against, right? Ilia Topuria has fought in the lightweight division before against Jai Herbert. In that fight, he also got dropped by Jai Herbert, but then he ended up knocking him out, I think in the second round. I could be wrong. But this is going to be a great fight. Obviously, we would have rather seen Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. I think we can all agree that's a bigger fight, given that Islam Makhachev, he's a great champion. His hardest test, though, was against former featherweight champion or current featherweight champion Alex Volkanovski. The first fight, full camp. So that would have been a great fight, but this is still a good fight. I'm actually heartbroken because I really like Oliveira, man. He's a good fighter. He comes to fight. He has power, great jiu-jitsu. He has the stand-up game, but fighting someone like Ilia Topuria is going to be a tough fight. I do think Oliveira will be favored in this matchup, given this is a lightweight fight. He's a former champion in the division, and he has great skills, but I don't think he'll be a huge favorite. I imagine he'll be like a minus 120, maybe a minus 150, but this is going to be a great fight. Really, this is the only great fight on International Fight Week on the card. UFC 319, Dricus du Plessis fighting Khamzat Chamay in Chicago, which I'm surprised Khamzat Chamay is even allowed in the States, given his relationship with Kadyrov. But this is a great fight. I am going to favor Dricus du Plessis in this matchup. I know Khamzat Chamay just brutally beat up Robert Whittaker, but Dricus du Plessis has some great skills. He's overall like pretty skillful and has some, good power and technique in the division. I know he looks funky, but he submitted Israel Adesanya. He went to war with Sean Strickland, beat up Robert Whittaker. So he's shown himself to be a great champion and being able to finish guys. Pause. But Khamzat Chamay, we all know, in the first two rounds, he is this mystique, this guy who is invincible almost, the greatest first-round fighter of all time probably. So the question comes down to, can Dricus du Plessis last long enough to be able to really put the fight onto Chamay in the third, fourth, and fifth round? Because the past two times that Chamay has been in the third round against Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, he hasn't looked that great. He definitely falls off a little bit. He doesn't have that great of cardio. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Can Chamay finish Dricus du Plessis early in the fight? Can he make it a grueling fight in the first two rounds to, put him out and become the champion? Or can Dricus du Plessis last long enough to be able to finish Khamzat Chamay in the later rounds. So that's an interesting matchup. I am going to favor Dricus du Plessis in this matchup, but I'm definitely not counting out Chamay because in the first round, that's where Dricus du Plessis has to be the best. He has to make sure his technique and his mistakes are, limited. So that's going to be interesting. Finally, Islam Makhachev, shocking the world, vacating his belt to move up to the welterweight division and face Jack Della Maddalena. Most likely this will be for UFC 320 in Perth, Australia. That gives Jack Della Maddalena enough time to recover from his recent fight against Belal Muhammad. And then that also gives time for Islam Makhachev to kind of bulk up a little bit, get his skills down, and prepare for Jack Della Maddalena. I am favoring Jack Della Maddalena in this fight, but I don't really know how this will go. Islam Makhachev, pound for pound number 1. He's finished 8 of his last 10 opponents. 8 of his last 10 opponents. And he's good, man. He's good. He's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. It just comes down to, can his skills in the lightweight division translate to the welterweight division? Because Jack Della Maddalena, he's good. I mean, he just put a beating on Belal Muhammad. So that's going to be very interesting. I think Islam could do it. I think he could become the champion in the welterweight division. I am surprised, though, that he's vacating his belt because I thought he wanted to be double champ. But I imagine he told the UFC he's not vacating his belt and he wants to move up. But I imagine Dana White or Hunter Campbell or whoever told Islam, like, if you want to fight Jack Della Maddalena, you'll get a title shot right away. You'll fight him next. But you have to drop your belt because then you're just stalling up the division, right? You're holding it up. So I imagine that was the circumstance, right? If he didn't want to give up his belt, I imagine he would have been in queue behind Sean Brady, Shavkat, the winner of Joaquin and Kamaru Usman, Ian Gary, But Islam Makhachev fighting in the welterweight division now just makes the welterweight division even more exciting. I would argue with Islam Makhachev now in the welterweight division that the welterweight division is probably a top 3 division now. I would argue it's probably the second best division behind probably lightweight. Featherweight is really great too. But because Max Holloway left the featherweight division and Ilia, I would probably put lightweight division as the best division, then welterweight, then featherweight, then probably bantamweight. But this is great. Great for the UFC. Former champion moving up to the welterweight division, challenging Jack Della Maddalena. So that's going to be a huge fight. But overall, we did pretty good, I would say, with some news, right? Oliveira versus Topuria, huge fight. Khamzat versus Dricus du Plessis, huge fight. And then Islam fighting Jack Della Maddalena, most likely for UFC 320. But I will say International Fight Week is pretty weak. This is a pretty weak card. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, great fight, great headliner. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. I mean, you could, but we're not getting it. We could have asked for Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, but this is like the third best matchup you could do. Alessandro Pantoja versus Kaya Kara France. This is a fun fight. This, I feel like, is right for a co-main event, but then it just drops off, right? Like Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. That's like, realistically, this should be like opening up the main card, not the featured fight for UFC 317 on International Fight Week. But whatever. Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano. This is a fun fight. Fun fight for the main card. I would probably favor Renato Moicano given what he just did to Benoit Saint-Denis. I know he got beat up by Islam Makhachev, but Beneil Dariush is old, man. He is old. But this better not be on the main card, bro. Justin Tafa versus Jonata Denise. Like, who is this? Why is this on the main card? Brendan Royval versus Manuel Kopp. This is like a good featured fight on the prelims, not on the main card, Overall, though, I'm happy with the main event. I can't complain. I'm heartbroken, but I like it. That was my breakdown of the breaking news. Be sure to like, comment what you thought about Ilia Topuria, Oliveira. Khamzat, DDP, and Makhachev, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.